with Ryan Balch.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Ryan from the city of Chandler.
Great. Eric Cole.
Hi, it's Eric. I'm present.
Great. Elizabeth DaCosta.
Yes, hello, Liz DaCosta with Community Bridges.
Hi there. Marshall Franklin. And actually, Marshall is unable to make it today. Tad Gary. Okay. Samantha Jackson.
Samantha Jackson, Downtown Phoenix Partnership.
Hi there. Bruce Liggett.
Bruce Liggett, Maricopa County.
Great. Hi, Bruce.
Hi.
Joan Service.
Hi, Joan Service, Arizona Housing Coalition.
Excellent. Thank you. Charles Sullivan.
Charles Sullivan, ABC Housing.
Great. Thank you. Jackie Taylor.
Jackie Taylor, Save the Family.
Great. Thank you. I'll go back up quickly to Tad Gary.
Present.
Hi, Tad. Great. And our chair, Tamara Wright.
Present.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, great. Did we miss anyone? All right. For all participants, please mute your phone or computer when not speaking, and please do not put your phone on hold as this puts music into the meeting. And for all participants, we ask that you please identify yourself when speaking. We'll be reminding people to do that throughout the meeting, as we have been advised this is very important for open meeting law. One final housekeeping item, all votes will be roll call votes, and Sarah will be the person calling that after a motion is made. Okay, so we'll move on to agenda item number 2, a call to the audience. Please note that members of the public were given an opportunity to submit written comments relating to this meeting at azmag.gov/comment within 1 hour of the posted start time of the meeting. Were there any comments received, Sarah?
Yes, there was one from Human Services Campus, Amy Schwabenländer, that I can read now. Amy Schwabenländer with Human Services Campus wrote, the Human Services Campus requests with Andre House, St. Vincent de Paul, and Cass to add emergency shelter beds. That will be heard at the Phoenix City Council meeting on February 3rd. Please contact Amy Schwabenländer directly if you would like to recommend anything or to support this request. You can email Amy at amys@hsc-az.org. Or you can also email me, Sarah Kent, and I can pass her email on to you. Thank you so much. And that concludes the public comment from Human Services Campus, Amy Schwabenländer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you so much, Amy, for that update. We will now move on to the next agenda item, number 3, approval of the consent agenda. Board members may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda. Prior to an action on the consent agenda, members of the audience will be provided an opportunity to comment on consent items. Consent items were marked with an asterisk. Okay, so as a reminder, please note that board members, if you do request it to be moved, it will be up for discussion. Does any board member of the COC board request a discussion on any of these items? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent items? And please state your name.
Jackie Taylor, so moved.
Thank you, Jackie. We have a motion from Jackie Taylor. Do we have a second?
Second by Tad.
Thank you, Tad Gary. I now toss it over to Sarah, who will proceed with the roll call.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Ryan Balch.
Aye.
Eric Cole.
Aye.
Liz DaCosta.
Aye.
Marshall Franklin. Not present. Tad Gary.
Aye.
Samantha Jackson.
Aye.
Bruce Liggett.
Aye.
Joan Service.
Aye.
Charles Sullivan.
Aye.
Jackie Taylor.
Aye.
And our chair, Tamara Wright.
Aye.
Great. And it passes.
All right, great. Thank you, Sarah. We will now move on to agenda item number 4, COC Board Strategic Planning Sessions Debrief. Amy St. Peter, Deputy Executive Director at MAG, will lead a debrief discussion on the board strategic planning session. Amy?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the board. Really want to thank you for all of your time, the great discussion, the great interactions at the board strategic planning sessions. Very exciting to be able to get the information from you, the feedback, particularly as the board is really pivoting to policy, and we're excited to be able to support you in whatever way you would like support in, and your guidance. Do want to open up the floor for your discussion, to get a general just to get your feedback on how you thought the board sessions went. What can we do differently in the future? What did you like that we can continue? I've got a list of some kind of next action items that we had discussed at the board sessions, but first really want to give the floor to you, to make sure that you have an opportunity really fully to be able to discuss together what came out of the board sessions and what your main takeaways were. Would anyone like to jump in at this point?
I would like to jump in and just say kudos to Sarah and the work that she put in. I thought it was incredibly helpful for us to have that mural, kind of the whiteboard. So thank you so much for being able to kind of collect all of our thoughts and organize them into categories. Really excited to work from those, like what came out of those discussions.
Thank you, Samantha. Excellent. Any other feedback? Impressions from the sessions? Okay.
This is Ryan. I'll just echo those sentiments and just say I thought it was very helpful for me personally. It was great to feel like I was on the same page as my fellow board members, and that we all are enthusiastic about moving forward in the same direction together. So thanks for taking the time to do that.
Thank you, Ryan. Really pleased. Thank you. See a thumbs up from Jackie. Thank you, Jackie. Any other comments about the board sessions? Feedback, requests? I know. Just heard the lightning. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that in my background.
I heard that.
It just got really dark out that window. Like divine intervention there. So in terms of the board sessions then, happy to have any feedback on that. Please also do feel free to reach out to the chair, to Tamara, to any one of the MAG staff. If you have any feedback or anything that you'd like to discuss or have questions about or give direction on coming out of that. I have a list of things that I heard at the board sessions. I'd love to get your feedback on in terms of, does this align with what you said and what you saw in terms of those possible next steps? Really looking for your guidance on where you'd most like to lean in next. So first, we had discussed, and Sarah Kent had sent out an email earlier today, there was discussion that we heard about continuing this, that there's a lot of really important foundational work to do. And so we'd love to get your input on if you'd like to continue meeting, if so, how often, what kind of time frame. There are lots of really important things that we can be focusing on, such as the mission, and we have a smaller subset who will be helping to craft that, to draft the next revision of the mission statement, the principles, strategies, things like that. So there's a lot of work to do. And if we're in some dedicated time, because the foundational work does take time. It is very labor intensive. It is like really kind of deep, intensive work. So if you'd like to continue that, we'd love to support you in that. So please do feel free to respond to Sarah's email that she had sent out earlier, trying to line up those meetings, because we also understand that all of you are extremely busy and we want to help you to protect the time on your calendars. And if you aren't available, aren't able to be involved, that's absolutely fine too. We just want to make sure that everyone really has the opportunity to really drive this work. Also, we're looking at that new member recruitment, as well as recruitment for a co-chair to serve with Tamara. Those are really, really important issues. And there's been a lot of discussion in the board meetings, as well as at the sessions, about diversifying and, really looking at who are the additional partners' voices that we need to include, particularly as a board pivots to policy. And so really look forward to your feedback in that. We are moving to a new webinar format for these meetings. Hopefully our plan is to start that next month. We did mention that at the session last Friday, where if we there have been some recent changes to the Zoom platform. So now we're able to offer the webinar as a way to engage more and more people. Oh, geez, excuse me, sorry about that. Sorry. So we are able to offer the opportunity then for more people to be able to attend the meetings, for particularly for members of the public to be able to come in, and they can raise their hand, they can comment both in chat as well as verbally during the meeting. And so we're really excited about that. Public input is absolutely essential and important to this work. And we're excited to have this new way to more fully engage members of the public with these meetings. And so we've heard that request loud and clear. We share that same priority, and we'll be able to put that into action then. So some of the feedback that we received during the retreat we'll be able to put into action right away, and others will require a bit more time and effort as we really dig into what those different possibilities could be. We do have volunteers to help us with the mission statement. We've got Tamara, Ryan, possibly Joan. I'm not sure if she was volunteered or voluntold, as well as Eric. So we appreciate that support. If others would like to be involved, then please do let us know. We'd love to have you at the table. The intent then is to take the feedback received. Sorry, it is raining so hard right now here. The intent is to take all of the feedback generated by those sessions and then to craft a statement that would be considered by the board. And so it'll be driven by the board. Azmag staff are here to support you, but this is a board-driven activity, and we really look forward to supporting you in that very important work. We also have a charter review that would be very important to be able to take a look at once we have that mission statement really confirmed and we have consensus on that from the entire board. Then the charter review will really help us. We'll be able to use that new mission statement to align the rest of the charter to really fully support that. That also includes looking again at the structure of the supporting groups that serve the board. So the Continuum of Care Committee, the subcommittees. Oh, good. Thank you, Brandy, for saying you can hear me. Feels like I'm yelling over the rain. So that includes the Continuum of Care Committee, the subcommittees, all the various work groups. Really want to make sure that we have people in the right places on the bus, you know, so in the right seats, contributing, really fully leveraging their expertise in this really important effort. And then also just as a follow-up, and I'm not sure that we necessarily discuss this at length during the board strategic planning sessions, but do want to make sure that it's on everyone's radar. The document that you voted on at the beginning of this month, the MAG role document and the request for the 2 new staff positions, that was recommended for approval at Management Committee, and it will be heard at Regional Council this Wednesday. And so we'll be circling back with you. I know there's interest expressed in 2 things. One, to continue refining that document based on additional input and these evolving conversations. And then also 2, if the board has any additional thoughts or guidance around those 2 new staff positions. One is slated to be a data analyst working with our regional analytics team, exclusively dedicated though to homeless data and to working with the continuum of care. And then the second would be a program manager who would help really with the strategic partnerships and oversight of the homeless planning team. We have a great team here at MAG. They're working really, really hard to serve you. Having a program manager, we think will really help to, having that role will really help to provide some additional support and capacity to the overall team. But if you have additional feedback on that, thoughts on that, please do reach out and let us know. Just want to make sure that we're keeping you in the loop as those conversations continue. So those were the myriad of next steps that we had talked about. Some will be in place right away, such as a webinar format for the next meeting. Others, we hope to schedule a meeting with you very soon, particularly around the mission statement, because that will drive a lot of the activity. Is there anything that I missed, or is there anything that you would modify from that list?
I would just augment that part of this leadership group and part of the committees that are going to be working on the structure, and or I shouldn't say committees, maybe board members that are having a work group working on the structure, that we're going to make sure to center people with lived experience and racial equity, as that has been such a focus of our work. And so I just want to make sure that that's known by the public, that that'll definitely be centered.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair, for that. And particularly in terms of the charter review, we're really looking at how can we fully embed racial equity within that, as well as the very important perspectives of people with lived experience. So that can be in the mission statement, it can be in the charter, it can be with the new member recruitment. So there are a variety of ways to really make sure that we're not just addressing it, we're thoroughly embedding those concepts and those priorities into the work. Thank you. Jim King, you're in the meeting as well. Would you be available, please, to just offer your insights? We greatly appreciate you facilitating the session for us and being able to continue working with you. Do you have any kind of feedback or thoughts after we've had a while to really take in the
Amy, thank you. No, great job. Sometimes do you facilitate a group of people that seem really engaged. Everyone seemed interested in the mission of this organization. I think there's a lot of people who care deeply about making it as effective as possible. So no, I think a great start. I look forward to the team's, work to come back with, a powerful and impactful mission that will be an anchor, I think, for other work. Other strategic work that I think this group can do. So no, thank you very much for your receptivity, for allowing me to join you. It was really my pleasure. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any other questions, input? Yes, Samantha?
I was putting it in the chat, but I'll just ask it. As we review the charter, once the board has agreed to the verbiage for that, does that need to be approved anywhere else within MAG, or are we good to just approve our own charter?
Oh, absolutely. The Continuum of Care is a separate entity. And so as such, you have full control over your charter, your mission statement, everything in that regard. Thank you. Any other thoughts, comments, questions? Okay, I really do want to thank you for spending two days with us that way, 2 sessions, and look forward to continuing to work with you and to support you as the board really directs your continued evolution and your leadership in the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy. I just want to say that this just feels so exciting to transform this board and really make it more reflective of the work that the board members want to do. And so I'm just really excited about this. And so thank you, everybody that's been so gracious and wonderful working on this. But with that, we'll move on to the next agenda item, the engaging and regional efforts to end homelessness. And we're back to Amy St. Peter, Deputy Executive Director at MAG, who will provide a brief update.
I just got a raise, a promotion. No. Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm very happy to be serving you as the Deputy Executive Director. Wanted to check in with you then about really fully engaging you. You have tremendous expertise that we want to make sure is front and center. We have a lot of activities underway right now really to meet those immediate needs. And in terms of the strategies that can be put into place very quickly into communities, but there's absolutely a longer term planning effort that needs to happen, particularly with really rethinking and developing a new regional plan to end homelessness. Hopefully all of the work that's being done right now can be legwork and can really help you in those efforts. We want to make sure that we're fully engaging you through all of these processes then. There are 3 main ways that anyone can be involved, and we'd love to have you at the table to whatever extent you have the time to do and that you have the interest. We are also happy to provide regular weekly updates as wanted. We have been requested to do that with other groups. Happy to provide that for you as well. If you'd prefer and or like to have continued updates here at these meetings, we're happy to do just that as well. If you are wanting to be more involved, we would absolutely welcome you to the table. And there are 3 main opportunities for that. One of those is with the outreach forums. Eric Cole has already been involved with those. And others of you have attended the first forum that we had as well with the nonprofit leadership. I know Jackie was also part of that. So there are ongoing opportunities. Today, we just confirmed the forum with the business community, and that will be March 11th. We just scheduled a planning meeting for a faith forum for tomorrow morning. So we're just starting to dig into that as well. Working with other partners out in the community, particularly in education and philanthropy, we'll have additional forums like that. We did just release the invitation for the nonprofit staff forums. We'll have one during the day and the one in the evening. And that just went out, I think, Thursday, and we already have more than 100 people registered. So really casting a broad net. These diverse perspectives are incredibly important. If you'd like to help us shape what those forums look like, who they're held with, what questions are asked, it would be great to be able to leverage your expertise in those. We also have a fair amount of research that's underway right now. For example, there's an effort that's just starting off looking at how much funding the local communities invest in addressing homelessness. It's really important to understand the current investment that's being made, particularly as we compare that to the new investments that will need to be made with the development of the strategies and being able to implement those. We want to have a good sense for how much more is needed and what is the current capacity, and then being able to set fundraising targets for that gap. So if you'd like to help us out with that research, that would be fantastic. We're also looking at mapping out the assets. So looking at that in terms of services, both direct as well as ancillary, for people experiencing homelessness right now, as well as for people who are at risk of becoming homeless. And so that effort is just getting underway as well. And we'd be happy to engage you in that effort. And as we work through this, there are other research efforts that will be underway. If you have any that you'd like to request or make sure that we have on our radar, please do let me know. We are looking at this work in terms of stages. So stage 1, what is the immediate need? And then stage 2, really want to work very closely and support you fully as you direct the development of the next regional plan to end homelessness. And then there may be activities even beyond that. So your feedback on that is very helpful. And then the third way really is with the development of the strategies themselves. So in terms of previous research efforts, we had researched the most effective practices nationally in terms of regional approaches to homelessness. We've also developed a local inventory of what our communities here are doing and the best models for addressing homelessness as well. And so we've just now started to take both of those data sets and to synthesize them so that we have a draft portfolio. We're constructing a draft portfolio of effective regional practices that are grown from what's working really well right now in our local communities, as well as what's considered to really be, just the most effective practices nationally as well. We're synthesizing those to develop a regional portfolio of strategies that would be considered by you in May, as well as by regional council, because the communities really are playing a very important role in this as well. All of these strategies need to be implemented in communities. So it's very important to be able to work very closely with you for your expertise in homelessness, as well as with regional council as a conduit to the communities. And so if you'd like to help us and really work very closely with us, guide us in terms of what strategies should be included, what nuances need to be recognized and made. We'd love to get your feedback in any one of those 3 areas or others that you would recommend. There is ongoing additional deeper work that will need to be done, and we want to make sure that we're supporting you in the best way possible as you undertake that work as well. I'd like to open the floor then for any guidance, any discussion, any questions.
I have a question just about the membership structure of the collaborative. What's the goal of the structure that they have right now? And are there any voices that may be missing from the group?
Great question. Thank you, Madam Chair. So the collaborative came about because we realized that there were 6 different entities who are regional in nature, and they're all addressing homelessness. And so that's, of course, MAG, Maricopa County, Arizona Housing Coalition, ASU, Violence Health Foundation, and the United Way. And so it's the regional entities who are working together or working side by side in some cases. And so we wanted to make sure that at least we weren't tripping over each other, and that we weren't wasting time and resources. And so the United Way, for example, is working on their strategic impact plan right now. And of course, it addresses homelessness because that's a critical issue for the communities in our region. And then we're addressing homelessness. And so it's really just making sure that we're collaborating with each other. There's no formal authority exerted in any way. It's just making sure that we're collaborating, we're sharing information, and that we're supporting each other.
Thanks,
Thank
Amy.
you. Any other?
I just wonder if there's an opportunity to, I know that Joan and Bruce are both serving on that collaborative, but I'm wondering if there's a way to just either incorporate their feedback to help understand from a COC board perspective what's happening and where we might need to be involved, as opposed to just having an update from MAG staff. Your updates are great, but just trying to have like their board members' perspective might be helpful.
No, absolutely. In the future, if it's And I fully support having other partners from the collaborative come into this, whether it's existing board members who also are working with the collaborative, or if, for example, we had hoped that we could have the United Way come and talk about their strategic impact plan as well as the collaborative. They weren't available for this month. We're looking at having them next month. There are lots of opportunities then to cross-fertilize and make sure that we're really working hand in glove. Really, the sole goal of the collaborative is to support you, to support other regional efforts around homelessness. And so whatever kind of communication that the communication sharing that we can put into place to support that would be great.
Are
Any
there any
other
other
comments or questions?
I had a question, Madam Chair. This is Ryan. I was wondering, and if I may address Amy. Amy, all the great forums that you're having with all of the different entities, nonprofits, businesses, et cetera. How do you anticipate utilizing or aggregating some of that information, and how will that come back to us to look at, or what will it be used for?
No, great question. Thank you very much, Ryan, Madam Chair, and members of the board. So for the first forum, the one that was held with the nonprofit leadership, that the results from that, and we had note takers in each session. So we had a facilitator and a scribe. Each scribe took very detailed notes. Those notes right now are being reviewed and analyzed by ASU Action Nexus. And so they're developing those main findings. We're hoping that they'll also serve in that capacity for the nonprofit staff forums. The Arizona Town Hall will be coming in to help us to facilitate, take notes, and then to write up their reports for each of the forums. Because of different power dynamics and things like that, we wanted to focus their activities on the other forums and keep the nonprofit forums kind of more in-house, if that makes sense. Just to make sure that we have people who have worked in nonprofits, for example, who would understand, kind of some of the language and, and just some of the circumstances that our nonprofit leaders and staff face. So for the nonprofit forums, that'll be ASU Action Nexus. For all of the other forums, the business community, the faith leaders, education, philanthropic, then we will have Arizona Town Hall, and they have absolute experts at that. So we'd love to be able to circle back with you and to provide that those written reports to you. And this information can be used for any number of different ways. For example, if it helps you with your local planning in the city of Chandler, then that's fantastic. If it helps the board, that's great. If it helps the regional strategies as they're under development, fantastic. So those will be very broadly available. We're also taking the survey results. So after every forum, we're also issuing a survey to the participants. And then we're asking them to first let us know their satisfaction with the event so we can learn from each one and make it even better the next time. And then two, so we can restate those questions so folks have an additional way that they can offer input on those. And then in May, we're thinking about having kind of a capstone event so that each of the forum participants will be able to come back and they will have already reviewed the draft strategies that were developed partially on the basis of their input. And then they can let us know, do these strategies meet the needs that they're seeing? Do these strategies really position the region to have more success in addressing homelessness? So it'll be this ongoing dialogue. And so the results of that dialogue will be available to you as a board as well as to others. And then we'll be able to keep on engaging with those forum participants to make sure that we're hearing what they're saying. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you. So I picked up on another thing you just said. I'm glad we're going to get all that anecdotal type data to look at. I think that will be very helpful for a number of things. But also, so what body is going to be looking at that information and developing strategy?
I'm sorry, Ryan, you cut out just for a moment. I want to make sure I address your full question.
I'm sorry, I just was wondering, you said from that data or that information, strategies will be developed. Are there multiple entities working on strategies, or is there going to be one body working on strategies, and how will that come forward?
Right. Great question. We really hope that and would love for the board to really be very fully engaged with that. So we can come to the board meetings, we can set up separate meetings, but I think it's critically important for you as a board to be able to really help guide that work. We are also hearing from local communities as they start to review the information, and we've already received some ideas for new strategies, for example, from one city that had taken a look and just wanted to be able to provide some input. The partners of the regional collaborative are also assisting with that in a supportive role. But in terms of a formal role, I mean, it's really this body, it's a continuum of care board that's taking formal action to recommend approval of those. And so that will come before you in May. But it's our fervent hope that that's not the first time that you see the strategies, that we're really hoping for very direct board engagement as all of this work is being undertaken.
So we have an opportunity then to see that information?
Oh, absolutely.
The actual,
Yes.
just the collection of information, because.
Yes, absolutely. We have the strategy briefs right now, and I'd be happy to share those with you. Please know that we haven't, this is the direct work from our consultants who are very good. We've not fine-tuned these at all,
Okay.
so they're not at that level of development, but happy to share that with you. So we have the 6 strategy briefs. We also have kind of an initial listing from Homebase, our consultant, saying these are the most effective practices that they've seen around the country. And then those are highlighted. The green ones are the ones that were identified for a bit of a deeper dive through the strategy briefs. And then the others are coded in yellow. And that's meant to signify that these are still important and possibly to be considered as a strategy for the regional portfolio, but they did not do the deeper dive on those because there were many. And in some cases, we've already got a good handle on what that strategy would look like because we have some local examples here. So happy to share that information with you. We're just fine tuning a bit and wanting to make sure that we're connecting the dots in the draft portfolio for the regional strategies. And we'd be happy to share that with you as well.
Great.
So would love your feedback on any and all of that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Amy,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Did I interrupt somebody? Was that you, Eric? This is about, forgive me if I'm hearing correctly, this is like the 3rd time we've come around to the role of the collaborative. And I'm going to just speak from me. I think what I heard us say in our strategic planning session is, and as staff, you agreed, and you responded very beautifully. It was wonderful that we really wanted the board to be an integral part of this. And I know we have 2 of our board members involved in that process, and Bruce, that's you. Joan had to leave to go to the legislative meeting, but it feels and I'll just speak for me, I'm not going to speak for everybody else, I don't know how they feel, but when the information is only coming back from staff, it doesn't feel like a board-driven process at all. It feels like a very staff-driven process. And I'm wondering, like Bruce, we can't speak for Joan, but are you comfortable coming to this body from your perspective, wearing both the hat as a board member and your role with the county, and reporting back along with Amy, if that's an onerous burden for you to carry, because I know it, I don't know exactly, but I get a glimpse of what you're carrying at the county right now. Does this body need to recommend or nominate a person from the board to carry that role, and even one of us with more regional experience? I guess I'd like to open that up for discussion if that's appropriate.
So if you're asking if Bruce Liggett from the county minds talking about things, you know the answer to that. So no, I'd be happy to, but I think you might be a little disappointed. So first of all, real quickly, because I know we've got a lot to do. You know, Amy and I talked about this before it was commissioned and inaugurated. We were saying somebody's got to pull it together, you know, and who's regional? Well, Mag's regional, county's regional, maybe we should. And in talking, Amy was prepared, and I thought, perfect, that will be supportive. So the notion really was, there's groups and they all want to convene us. Let's have a single convener. I think probably we could have thought through, you know, roles a little better and communication a little better. I think it got out ahead of us and got a good name that sounded, I don't want to demean them because they're working their tails off doing really important work. But once I followed up, we heard some COC member concerns. We heard some city people concerned. So I kind of slipped into the role of being the like, I'll pull in the local government perspective here. And that's where I'll focus most of my time. So I don't really follow or go to the meetings. Rachel Milne on our staff here does. And so she's the one who's active. So she's much more real time. You also know I try to do sound bites. And when Amy said on Friday that the COC is the head and the regional collaborative is the arms and legs, that'd be my perspective. I'd say, oh my God, there is so much I'm on all the communication. I can't follow it, but you know, what's the right questions we should ask people? And these are debated. You know, what's the right format? Who can share? We should have, maybe we'll have Eric be the facilitator. No, nobody likes Eric. You know, so.
I did not say that, by the way.
I know he said it.
That's what he put it in chat. It's setting up meeting dates and picking logos, and they're working on the right image for these things. So I'm really kind of following it high level. Like, we got to get on with getting community input. From my perspective, holy cow, we're all over that. I mean, there's so many avenues and people are being heard. So I think we probably absolutely should have talked to the COC before we said anything. Hindsight, right, Amy? Right. But you pull a group of really important community people together and further empower them to help us shape this process, and it gets out and gets bigger. I think everything is settled down into roles now, and I think our strategic planning, sorry to miss the first part of the second day, but really helped. So I guess as a fellow board member, I would just want to share, I feel comfortable with this process now. And my radar was going off a little bit, thinking it was moving ahead of people who it should not have, and it's not. It's figured out now. So that's more than I think I've ever said to Amy on the topic. But.
That's good.
And I really appreciate all the work, staff, you do an amazing job. It just, you're mind blowing in terms of what you do. I'm just thinking of that direct board liaison, that person that from the board that does attend the meetings along with staff and reports out or maybe adds to what staff is saying. I don't want to be that person. So please don't see this as self-serving. And I don't consider myself to be like a regional person, but I'm looking around this group and I believe there are some of you that are like Tad and Eric and others of you that would identify as such. So I just raised that as something for consideration and hopefully put to bed all the multiple questions that continue to be reiterated about the collaboration and its relationship to the board.
I think we could put down on the agenda after or with the updates that Amy will give, you know, COC board members, just you put it on the agenda, we'll have an opportunity to share. And I wouldn't mind giving a perspective if I have one to add, and I'm sure Joan wouldn't either. Just let's prompt us, and you can follow up then and ask us as well as Amy. Would that work? What do you think, Jackie? Will that work?
I just raised it as a point of consideration. I don't hear anybody else weighing in, so maybe it's not an important thing to do. I just am aware that we continue to come around. It's like our third go around, and I kind of feel sorry for Amy because she has to keep reiterating the same thing over and over again. And I'm please, no one please hear that as being critical. When that happens, there's something missing generally from a process perspective. But if that's not weighing on anyone else's mind, I'm perfectly fine with where we're going.
No, and Jackie, thank you for that. I mean, I do think it's really important to make sure that we have a high level of comfort with this, that there's a high level of trust, and that takes time. And that takes continued open communication. So I don't mind the continued conversations. I really welcome it, because if you have a concern, then others do too. And I think it's really important just to be able to get that out on the table. I think we all really do share that underlying premise of how do we cross-fertilize and make sure that these groups are really working very closely together, because doing so will really maximize our time, our effort, the impact that we all want to have. And so there's multiple opportunities, I think, for really making sure that everyone is fully informed. Everyone has an opportunity really to help shape this really important work going forward. And as Bruce was saying, there is plenty of work to go around. A lot of it is very conceptual and high level. A lot of it is very much in the weeds as well. And so if staff can support you by doing some of that legwork, if other partners can support the board in doing and helping out with all of those myriad of different details, we're happy to serve in that capacity. And we really are looking to you for your guidance to shape this work. And so whether that occurs in the board meetings, in different meetings, if that's one-on-one meetings or debriefs, sharing material by email, I'd love to be able to invite other members of the collaborative into the board meeting to be able to share so that you hear it from them. I think ideally you'd be hearing more from the partners than necessarily from MAG, because our sole purpose in this is to support you. And I'd love for you to hear from other partners in this work as well.
Emma, could I say something?
Yes, Eric, go ahead.
I mean, Madam Chair, sorry. May I address the board? Just kidding. My thinking is evolved. I mean, I'm wrestling with this as we go forward, and I'm also mindful that there's 6 partners, or in the collaborative, and I don't think, like, I get and really appreciate that it's kind of come together. It's not super formal. It's like, let's do the work. And I do think, I mean, y'all do, I have seen up front the amount of work you're putting into, and that's, all the partners are putting into these, into the sessions. And I think it's real. And I've heard, in different parts of the Valley, people have brought it up. Oh yeah, there's this meeting coming in the government space, and they're excited or interested to have that opportunity. So I think it's really, really, really strong. I think where the one thing that doesn't just throw it out for me is just that eventually we do have a role in, ratification or approval. Oh no, my cat just stepped on the, am I still here?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Monty's walking all over my keyboard. Sorry. Okay. Is that we eventually have this role of approval. I wonder if, maybe there would be some opportunities as this thing evolves, for just, a more robust reporting at these meetings, maybe just this is a check-in. This is how we're evolving, how the thinking's going, that sort of thing. And because I also realize that we don't want to create a whole bunch of extra work when y'all are doing a whole bunch of work just to, gather these voices.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just almost like a, dashboard check-in as we get closer to a point when there's something we're actually, voting on. That's just a thought.
Absolutely. And that really was the impetus behind putting this item very specifically on the agenda for today, because we want to make sure that the board has every opportunity to engage in this work, that you have, every, that we can really leverage from your expertise as the strategies are being developed, that you have a role in actually developing those strategies and identifying these other groups need to be reached out to through the forums. Because no, I share that, that absolute priority. I don't want May to come and you to look at the strategies for the first time. I think that's a real missed opportunity if that's what happens. So that's why we wanted to make sure that this was on the agenda in front of you, that we all have an opportunity to really talk about this. You can let us know in what way you'd like to be involved. We understand that you all have very important work to do above and beyond this, and we're thankful for whatever time you can give to us. So no, we'd absolutely love to have the board really guiding and shaping this work in a very meaningful way. So we're happy to provide updates. We're happy to send you materials and to get your feedback on that, and to be able to really partner with you on the development of these strategies.
Thank you, Amy. I think that that's good going forward. I think like if we had some emails with the updated strategy and able to read some things ahead of time and really understand, I think because we might have been accidentally a little bit left out in the beginning, and everything still feels a little bit nebulous, but we're trying to like ground it back into our work and bring it back to the board. And I think just going forward, just making sure that we're abreast of what's going on. So when people are asking us about the strategy, we're not like, what strategy? So yeah,
No,
I think that would be great.
Completely agree. No, I think it'll be really important to have the board really shaping these efforts, and really appreciate whatever time the members and the board as a whole can dedicate to this.
Yeah, that's great. So I think if we got those different strategies that you guys are working on so far, and then Bruce, if you don't mind giving your board perspective at next meetings, that would be wonderful. And I'll ask Joan as well a little bit later today. That way we can just get a nice, well-rounded idea of, you know, what might be expected of the board, or what might be coming, or where we might want to be involved, and flesh out some of the strategy ideas together.
Definitely. No, that sounds great. You know, and two, the communication goes both ways. So if there's information that you would like the collaborative to work on, please let me know, because then we can work with our partners and then be able to serve you in that regard.
I had one other question that I was going to ask previously. Could I do that real quick?
Of course.
Thank you. Amy, I know y'all have sent us a list of all the forums, so I may not have looked at it, and I may have missed it. How are you incorporating local? I think really a huge value here is the regional, powers that be being engaged and hearing what their needs are and what their concerns are too. How are the local government folks coming in? Is there a government session, or are they coming in as part of the others? I just wasn't sure I don't remember that.
The answer is yes and yes.
Okay.
So we are inviting particularly the municipal human services directors to attend whatever forum they would like to.
Great.
So they're getting those notices as well. And we are continuing to meet with them. Many thanks to the county for helping to pull those meetings together. So that we're able to leverage their expertise as well. In addition to that, we are also planning a forum really towards the end of this process so one forum with the elected leaders, and then another forum with the municipal staff, so that we can give them the benefit of all of the insights learned during all of the outreach forums, as well as the strategies, again, to say, will these strategies meet the needs that were identified in the forums, as well as by your local communities? Because again, the where and the where question in this conversation is critically important. All these strategies need to be implemented in communities. Yeah. And so I share your priority in terms of making sure that we're really fully engaging our local cities, towns, and counties. And so we have.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. So we'll have those two forums planned later in the series, like right at the tail end. We're also planning one actually with philanthropy, because we really hope to partner with the philanthropic community on the implementation of these strategies too. Business as well as coming a little bit at the tail end for that same reason. And then we have a whole array of outreach forums planned right in the middle. So February, March timeframe, to make sure that we're able to really include diverse perspectives. We are also considering other ways to reach out to groups where forums may not be appropriate. So we want to make sure that we're reaching out in a really authentic way, particularly with people who have lived experience, as well as other stakeholders such as the domestic violence shelters, first responders. So we'll look at a variety of outreach tools. So in addition to the forums, also surveys and other activities like that.
No, that's great. I mean, we've talked before here about, and you do want those voices, but you also, this is an opportunity to educate the
Yes.
state of the art, but also, strategies that we should encourage over maybe, criminalization or some of the other, things that can come up in the normal course of business for a locality. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you.
All right, any other comments from the board? Okay, we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which was the legislative update, but Joan had to testify today. So request for future agenda items. I would like to start with one, if I can, just on behalf of the racial equity work group. We would like to make sure that board members fully understand the new report and strategy that the racial equity group came up with. And so maybe just going through that and talking through the board what the next steps are, how it's going to go to committee and what that would look like. I think that might be really helpful. Any other future agenda items from any board members? All right, hearing nothing, that's it. So if there's any comments or anything else, any announcements or events that any board members would like to highlight? I do have one. Our Built for Zero Mayors and CEOs event has been moved to February 10th, and our Mesa Mayor Giles has agreed to be a panelist. And we've also received an RSVP from Mayor Gallego, and I've sent invites to the mayors of Peoria, Chandler, Tempe. I'm gonna forget some. Where was the other one?
Was it Glendale maybe, Madam Chair?
Glendale, thank you, yes, Glendale. I'm like, what was I forgetting? But we're open to having, since the Maricopa Regional COC encompasses many different cities and towns, if there's any mayors that would like to attend that event. It's going to be focusing on, including CEOs that are local to you in this work, and hopefully getting some funding from them or other ideas or any means of support really, and brainstorming on that, and also talking about the importance of using data to drive your decisions. So I can give any more information to those who are interested.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just had one housekeeping detail, and it's not a big deal, but next in February, our board meeting bumps right up against the race equity CEO leadership meeting small group. So that goes from like 12 to 1:30, and then our board meeting starts at 1:30. It's a little bit of a heavy lift to go from 12 to 3 or 3:30 with no break. Do you think we could consider moving our board meeting just a half hour later, and instead of convening at 1:30, is it feasible to convene at 2?
I would have no issue with that. Does anybody else have an issue with that?
Madam Chair, another opportunity may be to move the other meeting as well. So we could look at both options and maybe pull the members of each, because I do understand that's a pretty brisk pace there. So we can pull both meetings, the members of both meetings, to see which one might be more amenable to spacing the schedule out a bit more.
Thank you. Or even, I know in March, they don't land on the same day. They were a week apart.
Okay.
So that's helpful, but yeah, just appreciate that. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. We should definitely be coordinating our internal meetings with you.
Yeah, and by the way, I just will say from my perspective, the consulting work around race equity that, you've all facilitated, and Julie, I don't know, this maybe directed at you better, but thank you. It's just been excellent, and I very much appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Jackie.
Where's the hand?
And this is Liz too. I'm sorry I missed it on the agenda, but if I can I make a suggestion for the agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry about that. So it seems we've made, it might have fallen off us receiving updates from the leads of our subcommittees on the work that they're doing. And so I did want to see if we could get that on the agenda again to get updates from data subcommittee, ESG, coordinated entry, and the other groups.
Madam Chairwoman, if I might.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes, Liz. We did have that in the consent agenda. So there's the full update in the consent agenda around all the committees, including the racial equity work.
Okay, so they're no longer just coming and presenting the information, just review it in the consent agenda?
Yes, unless
Okay,
you wanted
thank you.
something more.
I'll review and I'll take a look. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Liz. All right, anything else from board members?
Yeah, I don't see the hands up thing. I see the clap and the thumbs up. I don't see raised hands. Anyhow, I just wanted to give a quick update on the new federal emergency rental assistance money, if people are interested at all. So Arizona got $492 million from the act. The law specifies that 55% off the top goes to the state, and that's about $271 million. The rest is divided up between local jurisdictions, cities, and counties with over 200,000 people in population. Maricopa's share is going to be about $38.3 million. We've applied for and received it already. So you had to apply 2 weeks ago, and most entities did. Those that didn't, it gets put back into the pot at the next level of government. So for example, Scottsdale may not have, and that would roll up into the county amount, then, and we would keep serving Scottsdale. It's a more complicated program. We had tremendous flexibility under CARES. We made flat payments, we made advance payments, we did a lot through declaration and a lot through attestation. Not allowed. It's all going to be verified. It's a lower income level than what we had before. It's 80% of the AMI, area median income, with a priority for 50%. How you work that out is still to be determined. But what we're all responding to now is a proposed solution, to use the state's term, that the governor's office and DES are inviting us to participate in, joining a single statewide portal for rent and related utility assistance that would be managed by DES, that would be targeted up for mid-February. And so they are now having meetings with, I was meeting with counties, Mojave, La Paz, Yuma, Pinal, and they're asked for us for a decision on whether we will opt in by February 5th. So that's going on. In the meantime, I've been working with and convening the cities around, can we be more standard in our approach? Payment levels, eligibility, priority, those kinds of things. And so all the cities that got direct funded in the county we've sat down already, we're doing it again this week, just to talk about where are you going with your payment limits and payment maximums and all those kinds of things. So within that, just to point out one other big policy issue, I mean, so the governor's share was 55% of the money for essentially 10% of the state. So if you opt into the state system, you'd put your money in that pot and somehow have advantage of the full amount. If most entities don't opt in, the county may still want to talk with the governor's office about proportionality of funding available in the state. So anyhow, that's what's going on this week on that.
Thank you so much, Bruce. Any comments or questions from board members?
I just thank you, Bruce. I appreciate the update. Also, thanks to Sarah for circulating the information about vaccinations. I'd had questions about that, and you know, it's good. It's good to just kind of keep us surprised on that sort of thing. So thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, we can end this meeting an hour early. Wow, when has that ever happened? All right, guys, thank you so much. This meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Great week, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.